You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and I'm joined this week by three very special guests who are the documentary team behind the upcoming This Is How We Roll documentary on Rocky Mountain construction. Please welcome to the podcast Taylor Bybee and Sarah Anderson from Coaster Studios and Scott Schaefer from Upstop Media. Everyone, feel free to chime in on once. How's it going?
That was great.
Shut up.
Yeah. I just got my voice back from losing it on Voyage, so
okay.
You're literally you were at Cedar Point earlier today. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, everything's great.
My two top roller coasters in the past 3 days, so I'm good.
Hey, that's cool. I didn't pass out on I-305 2 days ago, so that's cool.
Because he squeezed his butt cheek so hard that he didn't pass out.
It moves the blood circulation. I promise it works. Try it next time.
This is a great
start.
Is that
really why you were squeezing their butt cheeks?
This is an amazing start. I'm here for it. But the reason I've got the three of you on the podcast this week is coming up on Friday at Six Flags corporate headquarters, I believe. You guys are premiering your new documentary, This Is How We Roll, which is about the history of Rocky Mountain construction, kind of how it went from Fred Grubb's garage into this roller coaster behemoth. But, for those listening who don't know how to use YouTube, I want to get just some, introductions on both of you. And Taylor and Sarah, I'll start with the two of you. Kind of, who are you? What's your story? And where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Taylor. I started a channel called Coaster Studios in 2013. I was always fascinated by roller coasters, and I grew up just, filming things with a little crappy camera that my mom had laying around in a drawer. And so I decided to put my two passions together. And so I just started traveling around, coming up with different ideas for videos. And it caught on, and now the channel is at over 180,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool. And so I just recently graduated with a degree in digital cinema. And so I like to think that, we're kind of taking the channel to the next level in terms of quality and everything. And so I'll go into this a little bit later, but actually This Is How We Roll started off as a college project for me. So that's it's kind of cool to see how it's evolved over time.
Oh, it's evolved, all right.
For sure.
And I'm Sarah. I'm the later addition to Coaster Studios. I actually have Scott to thank for even showing me that there was a community like this, because I grew up always loving roller coasters. I went to Great Adventure all the time. I even bought my friends annual passes that had cars so they could take me because I had no other way to get there. And Scott kind of introduced me to this entire community, and it's sort of taken off into this lifestyle that I absolutely love. I love being a part of the channel. I love all the stuff we do with the videos. It's been really fun learning everything about being behind the camera, doing the editing process, all the post-production. I did not study that in college. So both of these guys have been kind of like my teachers as far as that stuff. I actually studied neuroscience, totally unrelated to this completely. I know. Kind of wild.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very different. But I've always had a passion for entertaining and, for being able to, use this as a creative outlet has been life-changing for me because, I've always wanted to, and now I've found a way, a very unique way, but a way nonetheless. So very thankful for both these guys here for, pushing me to do all this. It's been amazing. Yeah.
And Sarah, I've got one real quick question before I go over to Scott. How successful have you been in getting Taylor to change the name of his channel to Roller Studios?
We are working on it.
No, we are not.
Yeah, we are working on it, and stay tuned.
I am not filing another copyright for Roller Studios.
I have already begun the process. Don't listen to him. Stay tuned for next year.
Awesome. And then Scott, you're with Upstop Media. How did you get your start, and kind of what's your story?
Oh man. So back when I was in college, I went to school for arts, entertainment, and media management. I wanted to manage bands. And a lot of the projects I was working on with bands, they needed a photo video guy. And I had a little bit of a photography background, and I just couldn't find anybody that was affordable for me to do the work. So I was like, well, I'm going to pick up videography. And I essentially was on like YouTube University, learning everything that I could. I got one of those flip cams, and I was using roller coasters as a subject, 'cause that's something that I knew, to kind of learn video editing and everything else. And then I got a DSLR, and then, I just kind of progressed. I had a couple parks actually that I filmed at were like, hey, this is great content. Like, what would you charge if you were to do like a project with us? So I was like, well, crap, I have like a business opportunity now. So I turned Upstop Media into an LLC. And it's nice because I'm very selective about who I work with. I like to keep stuff within the attractions industry. Unless it's like a really cool music video or something, then I'll shoot it. But I've done work for like the Travel Channel, HGTV, various media events, including Steel Curtain. A lot of ride manufacturing companies, Rocky Mountain Construction for one. I've done a lot of work for them. Ride Entertainment. But then back in 2013, I met East Coaster General Jerry Hawkins of Coaster Force, and Jerry was kind of pushing me to become part of the Coaster Force team. And it took years and years and years of getting introduced to everybody else on the team, and them finally approving me and being like, you know what, your footage is great. We love what you're doing with the YouTube channel. So that's been kind of my bread and butter the past 3 or 4 years here is the Coaster Force YouTube channel, and we've grown it now. We have over 1 million subscribers, or 1.2 million. So,
yeah, I think if you pull up YouTube and pull up a ride POV, like 60% of the time it's you guys, and the other 40% of the time I think it's TPR or somebody else who has a really. Coaster Force is definitely, they're out there in the YouTube space. So definitely check out Coaster Studios, check out Coaster Force on YouTube. But my next question is, like, with a project like this, how did it get its start? And then how did the three of you kind of come together on the project?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, of how it actually started off as a school assignment. So as I was entering my last year of college, every senior has to do a big senior capstone. And so one of the things that I was very interested in doing was a documentary, because I had experience with them before. I'd done a bunch of shorts. I did a Save My Park, which was a documentary in Kentucky Kingdom, about 40 minutes long. It actually still plays in Kentucky Kingdom in their gift shop, which is like crazy cool. So I was like, okay, I want to do a documentary, and I had a couple ideas. And so I was like, okay, why don't I pitch this and see where it goes? And so I had met some of the people from RMC through places like IAPA. And I actually been to the RMC facility. I went in 2017 and got to tour it around. So I had, some of their contact information. So in this case, I sent an email to Amy, who is Fred's daughter. And I said, hey, I'm interested in doing a feature on you guys. And I was curious what you thought of this. And it was, the email I got back was like, one of the most ecstatic I've ever been, where it was essentially them saying, we've been wanting someone to do a documentary on us for some time now. We've had people want to do like a reality TV show or something that, just didn't quite hit right. It wasn't true to like the Rocky Mountain story. And I guess they had seen my stuff or were familiar with it. And they said, we think that you would be a great person to help tell this story. And so that was like one of the coolest feelings ever. And so from there, the hard part began of how do you actually get this to work. And so I was with another student. It was our project. We started brainstorming. We talked to Amy about different ideas we had. And so we were like, okay, first things first, we want to go up to the facility. And so this was, we were having this conversation in like January or February of 2020. And the shoot was scheduled for April. You can probably imagine what happened. March comes around and COVID hits. And so all of our plans got canceled. But originally for that shoot, we were talking about like, okay, who could we have help out with us? And so I went to school in south of Salt Lake City. And so it was like a 10 or 11 hour drive up to RMC. And so getting other students, other people, other cinematographers to commit to a multiple day excursion up there when they wouldn't be getting paid. It's a student assignment. How many people are actually, if this wasn't even their student project, how many of them are actually going to commit to something like that? Well, it was pretty hard finding people. And so I was like, okay, well, good thing I have some enthusiast friends that would love to nerd out with me at RMC and help film this thing. So I called Scott up. Do you remember that conversation we had where I was like, hey, do you want to help me out with the shoot?
Yeah. Literally, I get a phone call from Taylor and he's like, hey, so this is what I'm like. I'm in. Yeah. Just stop right there. You're like, well, it's gonna require a show. Yeah. No, it's fine. I don't care. Amy and all them, I've got a great, not only working relationship with RMC, but a great personal relationship. And it's been years and years and years. They've been pestering me about going up and visiting them. I was like, what a great opportunity. And plus, this documentary was incredible. I know just how amazing Taylor is as far as a director, the project he's worked on. And I was like, dude, let's do this thing, man. Let's just do it. I'm like, I don't care what it costs. I don't care how much time it takes. We're going to make this the best possible documentary about RMC that anybody can do.
And I had seen so much of Scott's stuff through Upstop that it was an easy choice to, shoot a message. I mean, we'd hung out plenty of times before. I mean, this was by far the most amount of time we've ever spent together shooting this thing because we're out constantly doing all these shoots. But I was like, we put our minds together. I saw you about
Mother last year.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So it's like, we'll put our minds together. And then, so COVID hits, our shoot gets canceled. That was going to be in April. And we said, okay, why don't instead we plan for the fall? And so we're like, okay, let's do this end of August, early September, around there. And so in the meantime, it's like, okay, well, summer's around the corner. And once, things are starting to come out of COVID a little bit, so the parks are opening back up, we said, okay, well, what are some of the logical locations that we want to hit to help tell the story? And so one of the big ones is Dollywood. Lightning Rod first launched when roller coaster, no big deal. And so I was like, yo, Scott, why don't we do our first shoot at Dollywood? And then why don't you talk about how Sarah came involved from there?
Yeah. So, I had known Scott from work, and I'd been helping him with some stuff for Coaster Force. And he was like, hey, so there's this guy that I'm going to introduce you to. And we went out a group dinner and everything. He hadn't told me anything about the documentary and that I was getting sucked into helping with it. And we go out to dinner, and afterwards I'm like, that kid was really annoying. We're not gonna travel with him or anything, right? And he's like, no, not at all, knowing damn well we were going to Dollywood a couple months later or whatever. So I went on the shoot, and I grew up doing some photography and stuff like that, but I was not super experienced in the videography department. And so they kind of were like, here's a camera, figure it out. I'm like, okay. So it went from having a 2-camera setup to 3. And throughout the experience and all the shoots, I learned so much from both of them because they're both such talented, photographer, videographers. And I'd like to think I got pretty good because a lot of the shots in the documentary, are mine. Thankfully, you decided to use a bunch of them. So, so I learned a whole lot through that. And in the post-production part of this, Taylor has, involved me a ton. I'm actually getting accredited as producer now, which is amazing. I never thought that I'd see the day that would happen. But yeah, I've been involved in the coloring process with some of the editing process, a lot of the creative decisions, music. And it's been the most incredible way to kind of just throw yourself into something. When you get immersed in it, you learn. It's you get thrown into the pool. It's all right, you got to figure out how to swim. And it was exactly like that. And I'm so thankful that, we all got pushed together through all kinds of different ways. And here we are. And this documentary is insane. Having 3 minds we all have similar talents and interests, but we all have different creative minds, and it's all come together to something incredible.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And I've seen the trailer, and we're going to talk about the trailer here a little bit shortly. But I want to go back to this student project. And Taylor, when you pitched the senior capstone project, were you thinking another 40-minute documentary like you did for Kentucky Kingdom, or was it going to be an actual full length? How did it evolve from your initial plans to kind of the documentary that's getting ready to premiere?
Yeah, sure. So originally I was thinking something along the lines of a 40-minute feature like Save My Park was. And as we started shooting, so our first shoot, was at Dollywood. We did some interviews and stuff. And then over that summer, I went off on my own and interviewed some people at Silverwood City, got a bunch of stuff from like Outlaw Run, met up with Ann Irvine and Brian Andre from IOE that does like control systems for them, and had done some filming at like Cedar Point and stuff. And then we do like this big shoot at RMC where we're shooting stuff at Silverwood, all these insane minds behind this company. And he
means it when he says insane minds.
Yeah.
You'll find out.
But we realized that how much footage we have. We're like, this is not gonna be a small project. Like what actually ended up happening as far as the rest of the story of the student project goes is we said, okay, why don't we just do the beginning as our student project, and let's isolate this. Let's create something that will work as a short, and then is almost like a proof of concept of here's what we're thinking for a full thing. And so we created a 17-minute edit that essentially started from Fred's background growing up in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, till New Texas Giant. And that's what we came up with. We edited together. We ended up doing a shoot down at Six Flags Over Texas in the fall with the family from RMC. So we got to like see them at their ride, the first one they ever created, which was super cool. And then we put all that together and released it, and it actually ended up winning the student award for like the short for out of everyone in the cinema program that year, which was like super cool. So that was that it also helped act as a something that we could show some of these parks that we hadn't done any filming yet. That we say, hey, this is what we're thinking, and here's proof that this will work. And it really did actually help. It's one thing to talk about something, but actually being able to see it, is you're like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, and you guys, you've got the whole cast of characters, I feel like, when RMC is involved. As you mentioned, Fred Grubb, you've got Ann and Brian from IOE, you've got Alan Schilke, he made an appearance in the trailer. I mean, who were some of the other people kind of along the way that you either were surprised that you were able to get or are really excited that you were able to get?
Alan Schilke.
He already said Alan.
I know.
But I understand where
he's
you're coming
elusive.
from.
Yeah. So Alan, even when you have his contact information, Alan is still impossible to get a hold of. So Scott, do you remember you were up in Utah, and I'm like, Scott, you're gonna be there in person. Like, please just like pester him because like I'm like sending emails and it's like not working.
It's like you can't have an RMC documentary without Alan.
Yeah. I know, it's funny. Yeah, I was at Alan's place riding dirt bikes, and I was like, yo, like, we're doing this documentary. Like, you got to be part of it. He's like, well, no problem. Just have Taylor call me. I'm like, he's been calling you. I don't know how many times.
So like, finally, it was he responds. He's like, hey, Taylor, yeah, come up whenever you want. I'm like, okay, how about this day? He's like, okay, never mind. Any day other than that. And I'm like, so finally we were able to make it happen. I actually I went up there with the one other student that I was with, and we sat down at his place, did an interview, filmed him. He has a dirt bike course in his backyard, and so we filmed him on his dirt bike. There's a shot of that in the trailer right after Alan's line. When the song starts, it cuts to Alan on a dirt bike. That's it. That's at his house.
It has wave turns, by the way.
It does.
There's wave turns on
the dude is crazy.
It's clear that Alan built it himself.
And so I actually got to ride a dirt bike for the first time with him, and I have a permanent scar on my body because of it, because I crashed his dirt bike.
He's super proud of it. He's really proud of that scar.
It's there for life. So
Can we talk about the ultimate flex here for just like coaster enthusiasts? Scott being like, yeah, I was at Alan Schilke's house riding dirt bikes. And he was like, yeah, just have Taylor call me. And then Taylor comes up and rides. What a flex. And I love it.
I know. And it's like, literally, it's like, oh yeah, we were at Fred's lake house and blah, blah, blah. And people are like, you guys are talking about this so casually, and I like forget, we all literally forget because they're like our friends.
We ended up doing 3 big shoots up in Idaho. One of them was in April, and we literally like stayed at their house
and like went out on their boat and all that fun stuff. So
like we're like hanging out, like Fred's granddaughters, like we're like doing like fun stuff with them. Like,
yeah.
I mean, one of them, the oldest there, is like I feel like Sarah's like her older sister.
Yeah, I talk to her like all the time. They're great. So
That's awesome.
They become like kind of like an extended family out in Idaho or something. Like every time we leave, it's like sad, like legitimately sad.
Well, and documentary filmmaking is inherently invasive, and so we're spending a lot of time with these people, and so
in their faces with cameras.
Yeah, and so we were glad that they actually like us.
Thank goodness,
and
or at least that they pretend to. Thanks, guys.
Well, they tolerate us.
There you go.
Was this the trip where you guys were at Stunt Pilot eating sandwiches on the track?
That was a completely different trip, actually.
Third shoot.
We sort of did 2 different Stunt Pilot sandwich excursions.
One time we ate on the track, and the other time we ate on the ride while it was.
Yeah. So like one was like when it was getting built, and then the other was like, yeah, we're like on the train, it's going up the lift hill, you know.
Reckless behavior.
Oh
I
my!
know. No, it was actually park approved, and the only reason that we did that was because we had already ridden it probably 15 to 20 times before, and we know exactly what to expect. So, no surprises there. But it was very fun, and I quite honestly could not eat a sandwich for like 2 weeks afterwards. I was so grossed out by them. Because you can't swallow at all. So you're just sitting there with a mush mouth full of deli meat, and it's really not great at all.
Oh, I was going to say, jumping back to the previous question, I just want to say how impressed I was that Taylor was able to track down Fred Grubb's brother in DuBois, Wyoming.
Oh, that's a story.
And he drove all the way out there. Yeah, tell that story.
So
that was wild. Like you being at the national park.
So I was with one of my friends who because we were out in Utah, there's a lot of national parks around there, and because this was actually supposed to be my last semester, I was like, yo, I've never been to Yellowstone. We should go to Yellowstone. And so this was like right after we had done like that Idaho shoot. And that was all it was originally supposed to be. And then I realized that DuBois, Wyoming, where Fred grew up, is about an hour, 15 minutes away from like Yellowstone and Grand Tetons. And so I was like, dude, can we like make a detour? I'll pay for gas, like whatever. Like, please, can we just go? And he's actually a coaster enthusiast too. So he's like, oh yeah, sure. And so I text Amy, again, Fred's daughter. I say, I'm probably going to be in DuBois. What are some things that I should get footage of? And she says, well, for one, Fred's brother is still there. And I was like, oh. And so I was like, can you give me his contact? And so I do. I give him a call. No answer. I give him a call a week later. No answer. And so it gets to like, no joke, the day before, we are in Yellowstone National Park. And I have not heard a word from his brother. And I'm like, this is starting to stress me out. Like, I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world if we don't get him. But so I text Amy, I'm like, can you just have Fred like call him? Like, just tell him to please return my call. Like, and so finally, Yellowstone National Park is like, it's rare that you get service, but I happen to be at the right spot at the right time where I had service. I get a call from DuBois, Wyoming. I'm like, oh, finally. And so I call him and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be in town tomorrow. Is that okay? He's like, oh yeah, come by whenever. Like, it's all good.
Pretty spot on. It's good.
And I'm like, okay, is there a convenient time? He's like, I'm retired. Come by. I don't care. And so I know. So anyways, he like gives us the tour of like DuBois, Wyoming, and like shows us like all this stuff. And he has like this we step foot in his house and he's got like a bunch of stuffed animals, like not stuffed animals, like stuffed taxidermized animals, like in his house, like from hunting and stuff. And that's like what he and Fred would do, like growing up. Like they grew up hunting and everything. And like when you actually realize Fred's background, it's like actually like insane how he got to where he is now. And so we interview. It's probably one of the wildest looking interviews in the documentary is Fred's brother with a stuffed buffalo and goat in the background.
And I think the placement of it is fantastic too, because you have this like montage at the beginning. It's very fast paced, very roller coaster heavy, and then it jumps to this interview pretty much. And it's like all these dead animals in the background and Danny Grubb, and it's very funny, the juxtaposition there.
Yeah. So that was a miracle in of itself, getting that interview to happen, because that was one that was definitely not planned at all from the start. And that's the whole thing with this project, is like so much changed over time. Like the original idea that we were talking about like we had for this thing is not what the final product turned out to be. I like to think it's a lot better than what the original idea was, but I mean, it's evolved a ton.
Yeah, I actually want to comment on that because he has like this knack for starting a project and having it evolve into something so much more than what it was originally going to be. Like I've seen other works of his, and this one, like as the project went on, they announced this like raptor out at Silverwood, which is where Fred got his start, and suddenly that became like the centerpiece of the story.
We did not know about that when we started. We had no idea Stunt Pilot was a thing.
But it became a storytelling device.
Neither did they.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, they didn't. Nobody did.
We did our shoot
it was
up
Kentucky
at
Kingdom's Ride.
Yeah. We had a shoot up in Idaho, and we're talking to them, and they're like asking questions. They're like, so what do you think of the Raptors? And we're like, oh yeah, they're awesome. And yeah, we're like, yeah, they're kind of like dropping like hints like, okay, yeah. And I asked like the Paul Norton there is the general manager. And so we said, we asked him like, what do you think of these? And he's like, I'm excited about the Raptor track. I haven't yet had the chance to bid on one. I haven't bid on one. like he like slips there for a second. Like, and he's like, but I can't wait to try one here soon. And we're like, did he just like,
Actually, there was one even better. It was we went to the magic show, and it's Nick Norton's show, and we told him we were there filming.
The Norton family owns Silverwood.
Yes, and we're there filming, and we told him that we were going to be filming, the magic show and everything in case we wanted to use it for the doc. And at the end, he thinks we're still rolling, which we weren't. And he goes, I want to give a shout out to Fred Grubb and RMC. We're so excited you guys are bringing your next roller coaster here to Silverwood, and we're sitting there like, that has not been announced yet. And it was so funny. There was no other nerds in the crowd.
No one else knew.
No one knew.
So we kept our mouths shut, but we did not realize that it was coming literally the following year. Because sure enough, 2 weeks later, Stunt Pilot is announced. And we're like, I think I got the official, because I found out like, they sent out the press release. Like that was genuinely when we found out that it was actually happening like this upcoming year.
Yes.
I mean, I just assumed, oh yeah, it'll be a little bit longer. Like it's fine. But then, we get the press release and suddenly like, I don't know. I wish someone was like recording like the look on my face. Cause I suddenly like all the pieces were like starting to come together and it was like, oh no way. Like this is perfect.
But you're like the scene in The Hangover where all the numbers are going right in front of Galifianakis' face.
Yeah.
But it became this like amazing, centerpiece to the story that, it was able to tie the whole thing together. It's like, okay, now Fred is able to put in a ride at where he started. And the other amazing thing is that most of these people who work for the company are not the guys who go out and install the ride. Like there's so many people behind the scene that go into making these things. And they've, for the most part, never ever been on an RMC. You know what I mean? So they're making this product and they have no idea why it's so sought after, why it's so incredible. And this new ride out in Silverwood was like their opportunity to actually see what they had been producing all this time. So like getting the reactions of everybody and like seeing, these people all getting to ride one of their own rides for the first time was like, tell me that's not a poetic ending. Like, come on. It's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was completely unplanned. Like Taylor had no idea. Scott had no idea. It was perfect.
So that's why I say a lot of small miracles happen to make this project happen. It's actually incredible.
Seriously, like just the little miracles that wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so as coaster enthusiasts, people generally know the story of RMC, how it, Fred started at Silverwood and then RMC started out of his garage. But what was something that you guys learned, and Scott, I'll start with you. What was something you learned that you really had no idea about prior to learning about it / experiencing it during filming?
I mean, that Fred is indestructible and he has 9 lives.
That's what I was going to say too.
and just the fact that he should not be alive today.
Nope.
He should not be alive. And just how, like, because you look at these incredible rides, and then you spend some time with like Alan Schilke and with Fred Grubb, and these guys are, I mean, Fred's a cowboy. You know what I mean? Like, it just boggles my mind that he could be so focused, so skilled, but just such a wild man. I mean, just some of the stories in the documentary about, I mean, there was one, he was in a car that got crashed into like a river, and
he saved a girl's life, like pulling her from the river. You want to know the crazy part? That story didn't make it in the doc because it wasn't crazy enough. It wasn't crazy enough. The stories that we included are crazier.
And you see, and like, I mean, you'll see in the doc, like, there's shots and Fred's got his hand all bandaged up because he broke his hand like the week before.
Yeah. So the main interview with Fred, he's got a cast on.
Yep, he does.
And so it's kind of like poetic in a way because it comes full circle. So it's not that bad, but it was really funny.
And the best part is, like, you know, when you're interviewing, you have to remain stoic, because if you react, then the person that you're interviewing is going to react. So we're hearing these stories that are absolutely insane that we can't even believe what we're hearing. And we have to stay straight faced the entire time. So as soon as we hit, you know, stop recording, we're all like, what are you talking? Are you serious? And the reactions are so funny. Like, it's when you hear these stories, you're going to be like, how did you guys listen to this and keep a straight face? How?
Yeah, we're like literally side-eyeing each other.
Oh yeah,
like, As the stories, we're like side-eye. We're like, we're just shaking.
It's
our
like,
head,
did you just hear that?
What?
Did I just hear that right?
Like, wait, what? Yeah. Like the camera's rolling, right? Like we did it. Like we got that.
Exactly.
So,
we got that. All
well,
right.
and what I love about it is, like, you hear one story from one person. It's like, okay, hold on, who else was involved in that story? All right, we got to go talk to this person and ask them about it. And so now suddenly you're getting multiple people telling the same story, and you can cut them like back and forth in a way. It's like, it's just the coolest thing ever. And then you know, try, and one of the things that I was tasked with doing is, okay, now that we know this story is going to be in the documentary, we need footage of it. Well, that's not going to happen. Like, how are we? and so like, there's a really crazy story that involves snowmobiles. And so sure enough, one of my friends, actually the same one that I went to Du Bois with, we're like, dude, let's go rent snowmobiles so we can like film, like get footage for this scene. And so there's like there's a shot of a snowmobile in the trailer, and that's not there for, you know, just for fun. Like there's a legitimate reason why snowmobiles are involved in this. And so like, it's just crazy stuff like that. Cause I mean, so that's why when we say we did not know what this was going to turn out to be, and, you know, how the final product has come to be, it is vastly different than what we originally expected. Cause you start finding out these stories and everything that is like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, this changes everything.
The trailer is going to be in the show notes. If you're listening to this, we're going to link it, and we'll link it on coaster101.com. But I watched this trailer, and I mean, I'm a coaster nerd at heart. We all are. We all kind of run in these same coaster geek, coaster enthusiast circles. I was so hyped after a 3-minute trailer, and I'm just like, I'm ready to see this thing. I hate I can't be in Texas for the premiere at the end of the week. But how did you decide, like, kind of in the trailer, what made the trailer cut, and what is it? What's hiding in the trailer that be a bigger surprise in the actual full feature?
Well, I mean, so my whole priority this whole time has been, you know, making the actual documentary. It wasn't, you know, about making a trailer. And so the actual documentary was pretty much done by the time I decided to do a trailer. And so what I just did was I just went through and I just pulled a bunch of cool one-liners that could help kind of lay the groundwork for like what is the base idea here. How can we not give away too much, but, you know, at least let people know, someone that maybe doesn't know anything about RMC, let them at least, you know, get a glimpse of, okay, here's the story that we're trying to tell. And so I went through it. I had a bunch of options for possibilities, and then it was about having it come together in kind of a cohesive way and tying it in with you know, some favorite shots, but didn't want to put in all of the best ones, obviously. So, you know, there's a lot of the cool ones in there, but the trailer does not give away that that honestly, of the actual documentary. So if anyone
you only
saw
see
that,
Peaches once.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So if someone watches that and is like, well, they just told us the RMC story. No, we did not.
No, you did not hear anything yet.
Oh, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. It's like a snowflake of the iceberg.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
crazy.
I think most of the quotes that we used for it are in the first, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Max.
And the actual documentary is about an hour, 20 minutes.
Perfect. Yeah, I was going to ask that. So an hour and 20. Oh my gosh, that's pure just coaster nerd. It's like appointment viewing. Like, set aside an hour 20, and then
Put
like a half hour afterwards
on your
to kind of
TV. This
Yes.
is not something you're just going to want to watch on your phone. Like this is
It deserves a TV.
This is something that we have designed and tailored towards watching on a big screen.
Tailored.
Yes.
Tailored.
I think one thing to mention about the trailer too that you'll obviously hear more of later is the song at the end. This is how we roll. Our friend Johan Lennox, he's a producer. He actually made the song for the documentary. It's actually going to be in the end credits. And the song is like legitimately one of the most catchy songs I have ever heard. I play it in my car like every single time I get in the car now. It's so catchy. And I feel like every roller coaster nerd, even non-roller coaster nerds, are going to download this song and listen to it all the time because it's so fun.
And it was so fun, like creating this, because this song was actually made and like finalized well over a year ago. So
you showed it to us on the first shoot that we were on.
Yeah, the first shoot, Dollywood. Yeah, this was like one of the first things that I even looked into. Is I was like, I want like an original song for this.
And he says we have a song called "This Is How We Roll." Me and Scott look at each other. We're like, if you made a song that is just singing about roller coasters, this is going to be so cringy, and it is not. It has the message implied of youthfulness and playfulness and like not wanting to grow up, and doing it in a way that's, you know, fun and like kind of like the RMC style. Like this is how they roll. Like they're young at heart. You know, they build roller coasters. Come on.
But it doesn't specifically mention that. It is something that you could listen to, and like, you know, roller coaster nerds, now that they've seen this, they'll see how it like ties in. But you know, this is a song you could play for anyone and they'd have no idea what the original, you know, idea behind the song and message is. So yeah, it's really cool. So that's just a glimpse of that song that we worked in the trailer. And then, not to be overdone, the main music that you're hearing in the first probably 2/3 of the trailer is all original. The entire documentary is original music.
And this guy is a freaking wizard.
Yes.
Any tiny little thing that either he or whatever wanted to like change, like he finds a way to put, you know, and he doesn't know any musical.
Oh, communicating
jargon
with him is hilarious, because
It
I'm
is.
just like, this right here, I don't even know what I don't like about it, but fix it.
And he knows exactly what he means. He'll like look at me like, what musical instrument is that? And I mentioned something like, oh, like, I don't know about this harmony. And he's like, harmony, what does that mean? And I'm like, talk to your guy. He'll figure it out.
It's a miracle that anything got done.
But this guy's fantastic. Any time we're like, this is like, we didn't even have to explain it. Like, he wouldn't even tell him like, this is the mood we're trying to set. He just knew like instantaneously. And it was like,
and what we like about
amazing.
it is, you know, we kind of base the music around different themes. And so, you know, we highlight some specific roller coasters. So like take Outlaw Run, for example. It's an Old West themed roller coaster. And so we said, let's give this whole section an Old Western theme. And it was awesome. Like,
but he does it in a tasteful way where it's not like
it's
in your
not
face.
in your face.
Yeah.
And there's multiple variations of that. You know, Wonder Woman, superhero theme. So it kind of, you know, mimics kind of like a superhero vibe. But again, it's like it is all done in a way that it feels natural.
It's very cohesive.
Yes. So
Gotcha.
I'm thrilled with how the music all came together. It's one of the many moving pieces that you have to have in order to put a project like this together.
And if the finale music doesn't make you cry, then you have no soul.
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna bawl at the end.
I love it. Well, I want to talk a little bit kind of about the shooting schedule. Obviously, you mentioned the first shoot was at Dollywood, but over the course of last year and this year, how long were you kind of on set filming, and how many different parks and RMCs did you get to? I know you kept count.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this the other day. Don't I have that trivia thing? We kept track?
Yes, maybe.
I might still have this. Hold on.
We did, I think it was a total of 12 days in Idaho. That sounds about right? Like, at least as far as filming, because we broke it up
Something like that.
over 3 shoots. So there was end of August 2020. There was April 2021, and that was mainly actually reshoots, because we had kind of pieced everything together and we said, okay, these are the gaps that we need to fill. And then we did the grand opening of Stunt Pilot, which is essentially the finale of the documentary. And so,
all right. So yeah, we did some trivia questions one time. We did a live stream and I still have it written down. The documentary was filmed in 17 different states, which is kind of wild. Let's see.
And there's some footage there's from the RMCs in other countries as well. Some of it I shot the footage of Hokuge and Wildfire, but there's footage also of Zadra and Untamed, and that was actually we had people go out and film like for us to
Nice.
include that footage. So when you actually looked at it, yeah, I mean technically there was other countries where it was involved in.
Yeah, and I had a bunch of just having done the work that I've done with RMC over the years. like I had so much footage just over the years of openings and construction and everything else. I mean, I've got like every piece of Goliath documented, like going up. So
yeah, like all the Goliath section is like exclusively your footage.
Yeah, because you're like Scott, you're like, what do you have for Goliath? I'm like, I literally have everything. What do you need?
Well, and what was crazy was like, this is why it's like so handy, because like I look at the footage I had of Goliath and it was just the most dreary day. Like it doesn't make the ride look good at all, just because weather. And so Scott has this like beautiful like blue sky footage from like the opening of the ride, and so that's so they're like looking. Yeah, and like we also use that for like Wicked Cyclone and stuff. So it was really cool how everything kind of
slow motion
came together.
Shot that I've always loved and never been able to do anything with. And I'm like, thank God they made it in the documentary.
Yeah.
And then
I love that shot.
Completely unrelated, Scott and I, we did a shoot at Fiesta, Texas that was for Coaster Force originally. We filmed POVs and trick shots and B-roll of like every ride at Fiesta, which was amazingly fun. And a lot of that made the documentary too. So sometimes things were, not planned for the doc, but inadvertently became a part of it. So if you want to talk like the amount of hours spent filming, it's ungodly between all the people involved, like mainly the three of us, but there's a lot of other people who are accredited with, filming things in, like you said, other countries, other things that we weren't,
because we couldn't be there for everything. I mean, there's only so many, like, and one of the biggest problems, I kind of mentioned this at the beginning is when COVID hit. And so what was one of the biggest challenges? Okay. How about the entire state of California was like shut down for most of the year. And so all of those parks like didn't open. And so there's a couple RMCs that we're relying on like old footage for. And, one of the things that I've said, since now that essentially it's done, is I wish we could have given a proper segment to Twisted Colossus, because I just think that roller coaster is so cool. But just because of COVID and everything, I mean, the practicality of it just wasn't there. And so, we kind of had to pick and choose, like, which roller coasters are we really going to highlight here? And we had to pick the ones that were kind of the most important.
Yeah, like we said that the 5 main parks that we featured were Silverwood, Dollywood, Silver City, Six Flags Over Texas, and Six Flags Fiesta Texas. So those have like the heaviest amount of time. But a lot of other parks I mentioned, like obviously like Kentucky Kingdom is in there.
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point. Yeah, but it is a shame about, the California parks, because Fred does mention that the Colossus, the old one, quote unquote, that he says was his first roller coaster that he'd ever done, which is freaking poetic that he ended up RMCing it later in life.
You can imagine like that would have been a really cool segment to do of like,
but alas.
Like, hey, this was my first roller coaster and now we're redoing it.
And now it's
what's
really
that
mine.
Like?
It's mine.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I wish could have happened, but oh well, yeah. I'm really thrilled with how it all came together,
For sure. And so I've got to ask, while I've got the three of you here, what is your favorite RMC that you've been on?
All right, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Steel Vengeance.
Steel Vengeance. And I hate to say it, because I know. I think that like
it's kind of cliche.
But it's true.
The rides have so much more character to it, and Steel Vengeance is just, I mean, it's I was just on it earlier, and it's every time I ride it, it's like, oh my God.
But like they said at one point, was that Steel Vengeance was like the showcase of what RMC can do when they're given the right budget, which is completely true. Like, like there's everything is thrown in there, whereas all the other RMCs maybe have like subsections of those things, and they're still all phenomenal. Like we were just at King's Dominion the other day, and I decided Twisted Timbers is easily my second favorite. And there's a lot of elements in there that are Steel Vengeance-esque. It's like a little version, but the biggest, longest, most badass one obviously is going to win, which is Steel Vengeance.
Yeah, so. But I mean, the thing that we've been saying this whole time is, there is not a single bad RMC out there. I mean, every single time we do one, we're like, this is incredible. I mean, Wonder Woman is a perfect example of that. Like, the first ever Raptor, that thing is ridiculous.
It's killer.
Lightning Rod, as much trouble as that one has given over time, that thing is ridiculous. The quad down might be the greatest element of all time. Like,
it's either that or the Mosasaurus roll and Velocicoaster. So that's where I'm standing right now.
Quad down.
But we were even saying that people were like,
I'm team quad down.
Yeah. And we were saying like, people were like, we get a lot of people asking all the time, like, what's your least favorite RMC? And, my answer right now is Jersey Devil. But even then, that's still better than like 98% of roller coasters out there. When I'm talking about least favorite, it's still up there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not bad. It's just not their best work. Like everything they do is special and good. Go ahead, what?
It's like the Ferrari. It's like the Ferrari California. You know, it's like everybody's least favorite Ferrari, but it's still a Ferrari. You know.
We're not.
So,
we don't know cars, but I trust you.
I'm gonna pretend I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
sounds about right though.
I'm kind of right there with you, Taylor and Sarah. But Scott, I agree with you. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's like
it's
the
a good way
worst
to describe
Ferrari.
it. But it's like still a Ferrari, you know.
For sure. The way I found out about this documentary is you were posting on social media about this big premiere that you have on the 17th later this week at the Six Flags corporate headquarters. But we were talking offline and you mentioned that's actually going to be the second premiere. And we're recording this early, but on the 10th, doing a premiere for the RMC and Silverwood and some invited guests. What are you most excited about for the Idaho premiere of This Is How We Roll?
I'd say just for people to see it. I mean,
I'm really excited to see, you know, because being, like he said, like documentaries are inherently invasive. And there's definitely some moments that it was like people were kind of like, okay, like this has been a long day of filming. Or like, oh, like this is like kind of a pain in the butt to squeeze in this interview or this shot or whatever. But I think overall, obviously they had a great time. But I think once they see the finished product and how well it really does represent the company, because I think the only people who've watched it from RMC are Fred, because we wanted to make sure he approved of all the content, and his daughter, right? That's it.
Jake's seen it.
And Jake, your COO, yeah. But for the most part, none of them have seen it. And I think a lot of them are going to be extremely excited to see their story brought to life like this. And I personally, that's what I'm most excited for. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I'm excited for Addie to be there and hopefully slap Taylor in the face again.
Wait, again, what happened here? What's the story behind this again?
Yeah, watch the behind the scenes video on YouTube. Skip ahead to about 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Am I right, Scott? Quote me on that.
Yes, it's like 9:32 or something. Yeah.
I love how you know the exact
If you look at the comments, I commented the time. So just look for Upstop Media in the comments.
Oh, you're literally doing the Lord's work.
Getting slapped in the face.
You're doing the Lord's work by doing that.
Nice and easy. Yep.
There was no.
We're gonna link this video in the show notes too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like it's our last shoot at Silverwood, and it's the day that we did the sandwich video. You will see the sandwiches sitting on the side, not fully eaten because we literally couldn't finish them. But at the end, there is a nice little cameo of Fred's granddaughter slapping Taylor in the face from Scott's instruction. I believe he told her to do it, like with like mouthing at her.
I pulled her aside. It was like, well, like I pulled her aside earlier and was like, hey, look, I'm going to signal to you. And when the cameras are rolling, I just want you to slap Taylor in the face. She was like, yes, I can't wait.
I was like, Addie.
But the thing that was the best, and you can't really hear it, but if you listen really close, you kind of can, was there's a bunch of people around when we're doing this, including Addie's mom, which is Fred's daughter. And Addie slaps him, like pretty much punches him. Like she hits him right on the ear, pretty much. Like not even the face.
I wasn't expecting
it. Was
that.
Like the side of the head, and it was loud. Like you think that I dubbed the audio when I was making this video with a slap sound effect, but it really was that hard. And Amy is like, you would expect like yelling, like, Addie, like, what the heck? Blah, blah, like, you're in so much trouble. She just goes, Addie, that wasn't very nice. And then goes back to her conversation like nothing had freaking happened.
I'm like, thanks, so Amy, funny. For asking how my face is.
Just, Addie, that's not very nice. I'm like, oh, only in Idaho.
How old is Addie?
13, but you would not believe it if you met her. She seems like she's
mature.
An old soul.
She's mature for her age.
Yeah, she's like my little sister. I love her.
So this was a forcible slap to the face for sure.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh.
That's okay. Nice. I got her back later that day. I just pretended like I couldn't hear out of that ear and made her feel really bad.
Yeah, we're like sitting at like a water park, and he's like, I keep having this ringing in my ear. I don't really know. And she's looking at me like, uh-oh. I'm like, I don't know, Addie. You might have hit him the wrong way. And it was pretty good.
Oh, gosh. So after that, the big Idaho premiere for RMC and Silverwood and the invited guests, you guys have your, what I'm going to call the big premiere at the Six Flags corporate headquarters in Texas. How many, this event sold out in like a week or so.
Oh, less than that. It was like 36 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
How many people do you have coming?
Over 200.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. People were really excited, which thank God. But yeah, it'll be really fun. There's we did have some friends that we invited, but for the most part, it's, enthusiasts that we're going to Lone Star Coaster-thon, which is hosted by Six Flags over Texas.
And that's happening the next day. So this is a great way of being able to, for one, visit Six Flags headquarters, which I don't think any of us have ever done. And so, and frankly, that was their idea. Like I didn't even say, hey, like, can we show this? They're like, hey, why don't we bring everyone out to HQ and we can give people tours and stuff. It was like,
we're like, are you serious?
Like, yeah, absolutely. So
it's like, yeah, do you know your audience? Yes, that is what we want.
Of course we want to do
yeah,
that.
it was like the coolest thing. And they just said it so casually. They're like, oh yeah, our theaters at Over Texas are full because of Fright Fest. So why don't we bring everyone over to HQ? It's like,
okay.
So no, Six Flags has been actually like fantastic to work with for this whole premiere. So
shout out to Brad. He's the one coordinating like everything, right?
Yeah. So everything has been fantastic. So we're super stoked for it.
So when you get this, what I'm going to assume is going to be a standing ovation at the end.
Oh God, I hope so.
What's gonna go through your mind?
Crying.
Yeah, a lot of
tears.
Yeah, we're gonna be bawling.
We're all gonna be like holding each other, like. We're all very we're all very, I'd say, strong people, but we all have like a soft side, and I think we're all like extremely proud of this. It's art. It's a passion project. It's like Taylor's literal baby. Like he birthed this thing and he loves it. Like
I've told multiple people, hey, if I die, here's what to do.
It's true. It's literally true. He's like, Sarah, if I die before this documentary airs, I need you to make sure it gets out. I'm like, I got you.
Like,
if that's your dying wish,
I've told my mom, I'm like, Mom, if I die, like, just make sure this is like.
But like it's become like kind of the center of all of our lives for the past year and a half, because while there was like not a whole lot going on because of COVID, like we were still working our butts off all the time, and like we obviously, the two of us spend all this time like behind a computer editing videos. You spend a ton of time editing POVs and stuff, and like it's just all we do anymore. So it's a big part of all of our lives, like working on this. So it's gonna be an emotional moment for sure.
I love it. And after that big premiere on the 17th, when can us mere plebeians who are not at the Lone Star Coaster-a-thon, where can we watch it and how can we watch it?
Yeah, so This Is How We Roll is going to be released on Vimeo on demand. So there'll be a rent or buy option. So you can rent it, watch it as many times as you want within a 24-hour period. Or you can buy it. You'd be able to get access to some cool behind-the-scenes stuff that'll be available there. And so there will. I'm sure you'll put a link in the show notes. The link is available right now, so you can. I think you can pre-order it. I'm pretty sure. And that'll be the best way to watch it. So encourage everyone to go check this out. I promise it is worth the money.
Yeah.
I know I've been doing Coaster Studios for a long time. I've never ever asked people for money, but this is not a YouTube video. Not 1 second of this has been treated like a normal YouTube video. This is a movie. And so unfortunately we don't have the budget of a lot of these big Hollywood filmmakers. Every dollar that has gone into this has come out of our pockets. And so we hope that people will go check this out, or maybe people like get together, like, if you have some enthusiast friends, all get together and
have a watch party.
Throw this up on the TV. And I can't emphasize that enough. Like, please don't watch this on a phone. Like, throw this up on the TV. Like, it is worth it.
So we'll be able to stream it and watch it early next month, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can't wait for everyone to watch it.
Very exciting. Well, after the past year and a half of traveling around the country and riding dirt bikes with Alan Schilke and snowmobiling in Fred Grubb's backyard, what's next for the three of you? I mean, this is it's been, like you said, it's been a labor of love project, and not necessarily a big project, but what's coming down the pipe with Upstop Media, Coaster Force, and Coaster Studios?
I don't know, more traveling, filming videos.
Yeah. I mean, I've been, now that like I've become a part of the channel, I've come up with a lot of kind of outlandish, different style videos that we're trying to, work on. But we're extremely backlogged because we've done a lot of traveling, but haven't had a ton of time to like edit videos. So we got to get through those first and then try to come up with some new stuff. But mainly the usual Coaster Studios shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, I've done other documentaries in the past, but I mean, I didn't have the idea for This Is How We Roll until, I'd say a year and a half after Save My Park came out. So I mean, will there be other documentaries in the future? It's very possible. Like, I mean,
can't even think about that, can
but
you?
I haven't got the slightest idea of what that would look like. I like to think though that hopefully they'd get better. We've learned a lot making this happen, and so hopefully if there's a good story out there, hey, send it my way. We'll see if we can come up with something.
We'll do the history of Coaster 101, the documentary. That'll take all of about 5.5 minutes, and then you can move on to something else.
That sounds like a great
we'll make it
movie.
So we can make it cinematic. We'll make it happen.
Yeah,
I love it. Lots of explosions and After Effects and all that.
We'll
good
get you
stuff.
just sitting at your computer like typing out tweets, but we'll like use like a gimbal and get it like really cinematic looking of you like typing something on Twitter. It'd be amazing.
All right, cool. Sign me up. We'll do it. Actually, we probably won't, but it's fine. If people are looking to follow you guys on social media and kind of your journeys around the country and the world riding roller coasters, where can they find you? And Scott, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so definitely like Coaster Force social media. I mean, we have a whole team that runs it, but if I'm at a park specifically, I like to kind of try to do some updates. Also, I like to showcase a lot of my work on my Upstop Media channel. So mainly on Instagram is kind of my big one. But yeah, I'll be hitting the road traveling just constantly and always try to get better POVs and just better content. And just more POVs where you don't need to watch it with the mute button. So
we won't say the reason you have to watch them for the mute button, but we all know the reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying anything.
No, I didn't say anything. I just said nothing. Taylor, what about you?
So you can follow Coaster Studios on all forms of social media. We're on, of course, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter is at Coaster Studios, Instagram, Coaster_Studios. And we also encourage everyone to follow the This Is How We Roll account, which is on Instagram. And we've been posting a lot of stuff on there, especially as, before it comes out, we've been, kind of teasing some aspects of some things that you'll get to see in the documentary, and even when it's out, we'll post behind the scenes stuff. So
some get to know the crew.
Yeah, absolutely. So
cast.
It'll be that is at This Is How We Roll movie.
And last but not least, Sarah.
Yeah, obviously, if follow Coaster Studios on everything. I'm usually with him traveling. So, but like my personal stuff, my Twitter is at Midway Mayhem Fan. Shout out to Dan. I love you. And then my Instagram is Sarah CS Official. That's, more like personal content, but it's all for the most part roller coaster related if you want to see what we're up to. And then if you're interested, there is our G-Force accounts as well. That's going to be on Instagram, on Facebook. It's g.force.irl for the Instagram. And then it's just G-Force on Facebook. We encourage everyone who wants to be a part of it to join, but that's another fun little community for anyone who's interested, really.
Yep. And we had a shameless plug here back when you guys were first starting G-Force. There's an interview with you guys, with Alec, and with Gabby Gomes. That's on our website. Just search G4 on Coaster101.com and you will find that. Before we wrap this podcast up, guys, any last final fleeting thoughts?
I don't know. I think we should sing Time of Our Lives again, though, because that was pretty fantastic the first time we did it. And I think that's a great way to close this out.
Okay. Well, no. I don't.
Yes.
I don't want to get DMCA'd or have this taken down for sounding too much like. Probably not, because nobody really will find this or listen to it. But
okay, then cut that. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like I was mainly making a sarcastic joke there. But well, if we're not going to sing Time of Our Lives, we're actually going to have to wrap this podcast up.
Sad face.
Make sure you're I know. Make sure you're visiting Coaster101.com. We've highlighted a couple different articles in this, but we've interviewed Taylor in the past. We've did an interview about his Save My Park documentary. We're going to include all these relevant links in the show notes, but also follow us on social media. We're at Coaster101 everywhere you consume the platform: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We even have a TikTok now. We don't know how to use it because we're kind of old and don't meet that demographic.
Oh my God. Have you considered changing your name to Roller 101 yet?
We've thought about it, but I'm like Taylor. I don't want to have to file another LLC.
It's okay. I'll get someone to work on a logo for you. I can get the paperwork done for you. No worries.
That's fair. So If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, fan mail, or hate mail, shoot us an email, podcast@coaster101.com. And if you're listening, make sure you're doing all the other podcast buzzwords, subscribing, rating, reviewing, telling your friends, telling your enemies. This is How We Roll premieres this weekend, and will be on the internet soon. Taylor, Scott, Sarah, thank you all so much for your time.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
And we
putting
will
up
talk
with
to y'all again soon.
Yes.
See ya.